until they were transferred to another unit. They had given so much so that we could stay and remain a free country and nation.
So were most of the people that you helped, were they injured in war, or were they sick, or?
I worked in surgery all the time as we moved along, and I feel badly because I never really got to talk to the men that much. They were in surgery and they left, but I just remember so well laying a young man down on the stretcher and said something to him, and he said, "My God, you're a woman." That I remember so well.
We were taking care of the wounded mostly. They were sick bays, but we were really manning the unit where they came after they were injured, and we took care of them then.
You have to remember, we did not work all the time. These hospitals and on the battlefield, we may be very quiet for a week or so, and then as you move on into more action. But I was in kind of a rural area, so a lot of them stayed maybe 10 days to have the treatment, and then we're all shipped back to a general hospital. It was a fantastic thing. How it all worked, I will never know. The whole world war was like that. But it was amazing how it just rolled along so smoothly. Unfortunately, the field men had the worst part of it because they picked up the wounded soldier. And I must admit, by the time they got to surgery, they had, been cleaned up and were alert for the most part. And so I certainly am no hero.
I don't feel that I was one either. I was just there when I was needed, and that was what God sent me to do. So that's what I did.
I think it's interesting. We formed in Scotland, our hospital, and moved on then through England. Finally went into Belgium and France and then Germany, of course. A lot of my nursing days were in the Army of Occupation because the war was ceased by that time, but we had to stay on, and which was fine. We were well taken care of. I sat in Germany for almost a year with the hospital. It was very comfortable. And we had great traveling days. If you didn't have anything, saw the Riviera and Berlin and anything with little interest where we were permitted to go.
Well, we didn't see very much in the Philippines. We were about 90 miles outside of Manila, and we only got to go there a couple of times because the roads were still dangerous. But we did get there a couple of times. And then we were going to be shipped to Japan, and we were in the ocean, and the atomic bomb fell. And so nobody knew how long it was retroactive or anything, or radioactive. And so we stayed out on the ocean for quite a few weeks. And then we were allowed to go into Japan, see the results.
Ruth, it reminds me, on my way back, we were on a tiny ship, and would you believe it took us 29 days to come from Le Havre, France, to New Jersey. I'll never forget that. We had a ball, it was fun, but it was a slow boat, believe me.
Slow boat.
All right, so you said that you had to still work after the war was over.
I didn't hear you.
So you had to keep working as a nurse after the war was over, right?
Well, yeah, we had to keep working after the war was over because they didn't just get well and go home.
Did you help like any non-American people?
Oh, sure. Whatever came in, we took care of. Of course, there were wounded on the other side too. But we did whatever came along, we took care of.
Did you guys get to see after the atomic bomb?
I did.
You did? And what was that like?
Very bad.
Did you take care of any of the Japanese?
We weren't set up to take care of anybody.
And what kind of uniforms did you guys wear? What was your dress?
Right,
in the
like your shirts, we wore, we did anyway, I don't know what
Yeah,
we did.
we did.
And we had both slacks and skirts. And then we had a working uniform that I used in the hospital, and that was a seersucker, kind of a beige seersucker, as I remember, one piece, and it had a bow tie. It wasn't very fancy, but anyway, it did the job. And I never wore a hat much as a nurse. They were always in the way. And
The cap, you mean?
yeah.
The nurse's cap. We didn't wear that.
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't wear one.
we didn't wear one.
You think of a nurse with a white cap. Well, that's not true.
Not anymore.
altogether. Yeah. And what was your other questions, Scott?
Boris, did you have another question?
What rank were you in the military?
I was the second lieutenant. She was in a little longer. She was the first lieutenant.
What was your most memorable part of serving?
Go ahead.
Well, I think just taking care of people, which I've done all my life, and that's what I remember the most.
We had a lot of fun when we worked hard and we played hard. And we had a colonel, this little hospital has a colonel in charge, and he was a party boy. So believe me, we had, and of course there's liquor all over the place in Europe, and beer, whatever you wanted. And the first thing he would set up was an officers club. Now, just remember this, when we went into nursing, we became officers right away. Yeah. And so we had an officers club, but as I said, I worked hard and I had lots of fun.
But we had our share of fun too.
Let's see, what else would you fellas be interested in? If any of you go into the medical field, at that time, there were doctors that were just starting up their practice in the States, and they were upset to be in the Army. And you can't blame them. It was right just when they were beginning. So I had a few frustrated doctors, but they got over it, and we had a good time, all in all. Nurses go in as second lieutenants, and the doctors go in as captains.
How old were you when you were first serving?
That's a good question.
I was 22.
I think that's about what I was. Yeah.
I went right from nurses training right into the service.
I probably was 23 because I had a job before we went in. Let's see, what else could be kind of interesting?
Can you tell us a little bit about some of your patients? Are there any?
I didn't hear you.
Are there any patients that stand out in your mind that you remember vividly or specifically?
I see. I missed that. Ruth probably.
Well, I was
isn't-
taking care of them, but you were so busy that, you didn't get their history or anything like that. We didn't take the histories, we just took care of them. But I don't remember any special one. Of course, all yours were probably unconscious, right, Faye, when they came to you?
Well, a lot of them were in bad condition,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. A lot of gunshot wounds, a lot of silly things, like an allergy to something, and they'd come in itching, you know how that is. And you see just about everything that you see in our everyday life. And the wounds, as I said, by the time they got to where I worked, they were pretty well cleaned up. But believe me, the fellows out on the field they were happy to be in the hospital, but it was clean and safe.